Thanks for coming. Your last official duty for Thanksgiving. Before we start, we have some good news to share. About an hour ago, Moody's released. PJ and I met with Moody's about a week ago about our newest bond refinancing we're doing. And Moody's upgraded our credit rating to AA2, which is one step above where it was before, which is good news for us. To get to the next step, however, and we'll talk about that as we go through the biggest thing holding us back from further increases is our fund balance, which our fund balance we think is pretty healthy and follows our policy, but it's about 20-something% of our revenues, and they want to see it around 45% of our revenue.
And
Ray, pay attention to this.
That burns my ears.
Yeah. I want you to pay attention to this. Seriously, what Moody's recommends, people that are in our rating group, we have a fund balance of approximately $40 million altogether. Okay? People in our rating group, or to get to the next one, the average is around 80 million. Okay, so.
Well, relative
I know, but anyway, that's what they're suggesting.
And I would just say that when I did my fund balance policy 3 months ago, I polled most of the supervisors because our accountant had recommended that we have a 50% of our next year's operating budget as a fund balance. And every single person said to me, no, that's too high. But that's what he'd been told the state wants to see is 50% of the year's operating budget.
And we do 2 months.
Right.
Three times.
Not 3 times. I have more than double.
Yes, 3 times.
So now we'll get into the boring stuff. Budget. Here's the summary.
Okay.
We're using $6 million during our balance of the budget of $100,000. And we're tax levy increase of $870,000, 1.7% change.
You could share with your neighbor.
You can see we moved some things around. Machinery. Machinery's main source of income is charging road fund and general fund for the use of the equipment. And those rates have gone up. So they're actually doing fairly well the last year or two since we've increased those rates. We're able to reduce their tax levy by 100 and give it to county road. This is kind of a wash. So that's why you see that reduction in machine. We moved, as you can see on here, solid waste is now officially refuse and garbage and the CL fund rather than the EL fund. And they require almost $292,000 of tax levy to balance out the third year. Tax rate, however, continues to go down. The increase this year is 4.9%. Not an official number. We still got to calculate some chargebacks and things, and down more than 25% in the last 10 years. Summary of expenses. We budgeted in personal services a 2.75% increase for all salaries, management, and unions. We do not have a contract with BPSCU, our biggest union. But that's what we budgeted for them. So we'll see. We're kind of in the beginning stages of negotiations with them. So we will not have an agreement by January 1st. So we'll see where that goes.
They're asking for 6%.
I'll get to some of the bigger changes in the next screen. Including benefits and debt service. Then we retired one bond. We paid off in 25, so that's why it's reduction. Just as a percentage, expenses contractual is 51%, so just a little bit more than half. Personnel and benefits is 47%. But our contractual, again, if you remember, includes things like the Medicaid payments. We pay about $1 million a month to the state for our share. So it includes big items like that. So that's why I kind of see that. Some of the things that increased, I mentioned the 2.75 for salaries. Retirement was up overall across the whole county, about 1.2 million, 920 just in general fund. Building maintenance, we're throwing a little bit more money into some of our older buildings, also in utilities, and just like you see in your town and your houses, continue to go up. Sales tax expense is up 640. That's we increased, spoiler alert, I could have revenue later, but we increased sales tax $2 million from the 25 budget. We also added a couple things. We were funding MDT, which is a program through the Mental Health Association. We started funding that program through ARPA money. It's been very successful, although not terribly trackable in how successful it's been from a financial standpoint, but it's keeping people out of emergency rooms, out of ambulances, and out of jails. So I think that's about a $100,000 expense for funding in 26 to keep that program running. We're upgrading our website, so we're ADA compliant. That's another about 90,000 for next year. We also increased some of our community partners, CEDC, Soil and Water, both asked for about 40 to 45,000 in increases. CEDC's was to keep funding Chris Brown's position, which is he does the housing work for us and does a great job at that. Soil and Water was to increase their benefits that they offer to their employees. I don't think they offer to their family members of the employees, so they're extending that. And then library and arts was I think like 10,000 total in those two things. Also increased, and we've seen this the last couple of years, is the preschool and transportation programs in the health department that continues to go up with very little increase in state aid for those programs. And then daycare through DSS, we funded that a little higher. Again, they expanded the qualifications for that so that more and more. I mentioned retirement. So that the blue bars are our payments to the retirement system, and the orange line is our reported payroll. So you see our payroll's pretty flat, even down a little bit, but the payments to retirement keep going up. And even, you think if you look at the little box above the graph, I've broken down by salary dollars for tiers, and we are well above 50% in tiers 5 and 6, which are supposed to be the real ones that benefit. Retirement payment. We saw some significant increases, especially in the program for the sheriffs, which had a 20-year retirement program. I think those numbers for funding are approaching the numbers we saw for tier 3.
We know why those payments are going up significantly. Is it have to do with the stock market?
It's all that. So they do a 5-year smoothing of it. So even though the controller will say he had a great year and you got to go back and look at 5 years, so that kind of hopefully eventually it'll level up a little bit. I was expecting a much lower number of this.
Because when you look from 19 to 24, there's a little up and down, but it's,
Yeah, but they started the smoothing back in 2008 and 9 when everything really was terrible, and this college saw retirement payment almost double because the stock market tanked in 08. So they started that smoothing, which has worked to a degree, but when you have a good year, you don't really feel the effects of that. Just talk about revenue a little bit. There's a big increase in state aid. That's really just the misleading kind of classification of the mortgage tax. So we can move back to state aid from tax items. Well, that's where it belongs. So we take 1.7 million out of the state aid. It's not quite up to 4 million.
Can you repeat that, Jim? I'm sorry.
So if you look at the chart, you see a large increase in state aid.
Yeah.
4 million. 1.7 of that is mortgage tax that I moved from local sources, tax items at top line into the state aid.
Okay.
But not really additional state aid, it's just a reclassification.
Yeah.
So included in the local sources is the status. So here's kind of the things we did with sales tax. We increased by 2 million to about 60 62 million, which is about what we made in 2023. We're trending a little higher than that this year, but God only knows what next year's going to be. So we're trying to be a little conservative. Interest rates continue to go down, so our interest income went down a little bit. Occupancy tax, we budgeted this year $500,000. We kept it at $500,000 for next year, just because there's a lot of unknowns about that occupancy tax and how it's going to work. Cannabis tax is an increase of 15 grand, but you just might be interested in that. So I think we have a total of 40,000 in there for. And then the state aid is mentioned again. Just a quick look at sales tax. See kind of where I have the budget compared to where we've been. And then I think we share this too often, but this is kind of by category where we get the most of our sales tax money. Gas is the highest. It's always the highest. So when gas goes down, it's great for us as consumers of gas, but not great for us as a county. Is the biggest one, and then the top, 3 or 4 really drive the sales tax. You can see that big drop off in percentage once you get past the top 5. They used to have a separate categories for online shopping. I think it's been combined in that department store line. They kind of changed these willy-nilly and don't really tell you when or how or why. But that's our guess as to what's going on in that.
I know this may not be related, but in terms of gas, I noticed today there's a 30-cent difference along Route 66 for gas. Why is that? How is that?
Whatever the traffic will bear. Right.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
It's
It's
amazing.
capitalism.
No, it just,
I always fill up down here because gas is always.
Right here it's 279.
Yeah, that's
The
what I
disparity with diesel is even worse, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
They're like along with the county.
Yeah.
Jim, where did the state's collection of sales tax for short-term rentals end up in this list?
There's a category called accommodations or something, accommodations. That it's called. So we've seen
didn't make the list.
in the first quarter where they collected it, we've seen that number go up 250,000, which is what we think. We think about $1 million a year in sales tax and in occupancy tax. So we'll have to keep our eye on that because they weren't clear on what category they're putting in, but that one jumped up, so that's what we think it was.
That's
It's not-
travel arrangement and reservation?
No, it's not on.
It's not on the list. It didn't
Okay.
make the list.
Didn't make the cut of the top, whatever I got out of it. It's something travel or accommodations, I think is the category.
Okay.
Brenda, I asked the steward shops, somebody I know in here, and I says, how come you got one shop and same trucks delivered between all of them? And just wherever they feel they can get a little bit more, that's what they do.
Medium income in kindergarten is more than it is in Columbiaville. That's what they do.
It's just shocking to me. to see
I asked
that.
the same thing, I know.
Yeah.
It works for them. We pay it.
It's actually 60 cents lower, like on the 7th Street Park than up in East Greenwich. Like it's 230 something, or 330 something like this. It's 270.
Well, what did Mike Tucker said last night in economic development, that 9H66 corridor is the busiest corridor now in Columbia County. Certainly the one with the most growth, that over 50% of the county lives within 20 miles of that corridor.
So you
So,
just fix that intersection, great.
yeah,
Yeah, that came up too.
I wanted to include a little bit about the debt and where we are. So we got total at the end of this year, we $42 million. We paid off one this year. We're refinancing 2. So the one, the 2016 refunding and the courthouse. Now 2016 B and the courthouse one are the ones we're refunding. We're gonna save about $30,000 a year, so almost $400,000 over the course of the refinance.
And we're not gonna pick up any new ones.
So next year, that was the next thing. Probably first quarter, we'll be coming to you guys up and do we have to find some other bridge and road stuff we can do and 11 or the construction out of it. So that'll be 5 million-ish.
But that's not in the budget for presentation.
I bumped up the debt payment amounts to accommodate what we think that payment might be. But it's not in the statement of county debt.
And do we think the rates will be more favorable in 2026?
Well, that's why we did this refinance that we just approved, so we're hoping and, who knows, but as far as our debt goes, compared to our peers, we're right about average. I think as a percentage of revenue, our debt's like 3.1%, and our peer group is about 2.8 or 9%. So we're kind of right along with everybody else's as far as the debt goes. Fund balance, do you want to talk about fund balance a little bit?
Sure. If you have that stuff. Or you do have stuff, okay. All right, you'll see that the fund balance obviously has increased over the years. We've been fortunate, actually, I believe that ARPA helped us out to be able to jump that fund balance, because we were able to use some of those ARPA funds, to substitute from having to take money from our general fund to fund some of those projects. So that really kind of jump started us to where we need to be. In addition to that, I just think it's important to note that at the end of 24, our unassigned fund balance was $28 million. Now, according to our fund balance policy, we should be a low of 20 and a high of 30. So we were right where we needed to be. And so the sweet spot obviously is 25 million, but Ray, instead of taking $3 million out, we're going to take $5 million out just for you. Okay? So, all right. So we'll be down, again, we're going to take 5 million out of 28, which brings us down about 23 moving forward. So we're comfortable with that. We seem to be where we need to be. Moody's has recognized that. The fund balance policy has helped us out a lot. That we instituted, I believe it's in 2018. So that's good. A couple other comments, just think, Ron made a comment at the last board meeting. The amount of money that we've actually been able to fund into capital out of the general fund over the last 2 or 3 years has been over $16 million. And as I sit here tonight in 25, we pumped in close to $4 million. Now, some of that will be recouped when we go to a bond, but we'll have to determine how much we want to bond and how much we want to fund into there. So at the moment, since about 22, we pumped in about $20 million in capital improvements that we didn't have to borrow. So I think that's really important. Another little statistic that I wrote down this morning as I was thumbing through some things. In 2013, our fund balance was $14.3 million. That was our general fund. In 2024, it's 49.1. What was more important was in 2013, the cash on hand was $4.5 million. I'll never forget that as long as I live, because I needed about 11 to pay the bills. So,
How much was the budget then?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say.
I don't know, I have to look. Have to look. Excuse me. But, so anyway, we talked about it earlier. We had that fund balance, but Moody's recommends that we should have it on double, but we'll never get the double. I'm not anticipating that. I think we're good where we're at. Again, the key is to try to, how do we continue to generate enough revenue to meet operating expenses moving forward? And that's going to be the difficult part of it. But, I want to hand it off basically to you as a board through your committees. You're the one that's doing the workload here, okay? You're doing your committee meetings, you're holding department heads' feet to the fire, and trying to control expenses. That's the only way we're going to be able to do this moving forward. We do the, whatever, minimal increase for the unions, it's over $1 million right there. Excuse me. The other ones that we've been fortunate in our investments, they've returned quite well for us. It's actually saved us about between 4% and 6% property tax. to our investments, so that's a good plus too. So our retirement payment this year, this is just the county portion, not the college portion, is $7.9 million. Last year it was 6.8. So you see between that and the raises, the employee raises, I mean, you're $2 or $3 million short of the shooter. So these are the things you have to try to, how do we generate more revenue? So I guess that's why we get paid the bucks. Anyway, any questions? Yeah.
So just to make sure that I understand, so the unallocated fund balance of 28 million and change at the end of 24, because we allocated 25 million for the 25 budget, but we haven't needed to touch it. Essentially, that number's not coming down by 5 million because we're going to use it. Best guess estimate come end of 25 for all the funded positions that were vacant all year and sales tax we are going to be over what we estimated. If you had to give me a best guess estimate of what's going to add to that 28 million, not looking at what we're taking the 6 million for the 20, but at the end of 25, best guess scenario, how much are we adding to that 28?
I don't have that crystal ball. I haven't checked it. Right now, I showed you the cash flow projections.
Yeah.
Wasn't you, PJ?
All right.
So right now our cash,
You know, to be about flat with where they were a year ago. I can't tell you about fund balance. Do you have any insight on that, Jim?
I mean, in 24, we had a surplus of about $400,000. I would be happy if we had that again in 25. We have saved probably, you know, with new vacancy, last time I looked at it, a couple weeks ago, we saved about 800,000 so far this year. So maybe we'll be close to $1 million on that. Sales taxes up. Some of the 3.4s are right about where they should be, so it's gonna be about the same. I would think we'll flat in 25, I wouldn't be ahead.
Have we cleared our budgeted revenue for sales tax for this year yet?
No,
I don't think so.
What was the question you said?
As far as budgeted revenue for sales tax for 2025, how are we looking versus what we've been paid versus what we?
we're up to that 6, and we have one more payment.
We're looking to be probably about $2 million over, hopefully depending on the fourth quarter. However, I have noticed the sales tax receipts have kind of leveled off and dipped a little bit. We're looking at the price of gas.
Yeah.
So just ballpark, if we're gonna possibly be up, let's call it 1.5 million sales tax, not 2, and possibly down 800,000 on expenditure for payroll, let's be conservative and call that 500,000. So 500,000 less on payroll expenses, 1.5 million higher on sales tax, so about 2 million. Safe to say we're gonna.
But that doesn't include any other expenses.
But are there any huge ones that?
No, like we did a better job budgeting this year. We had big increases in that transportation and fiscal stuff. And so I think we're ready on target for those this year. All the social services ones are sort of right on target. So it's still early because at the end of the year, we do a lot of cleanup.
Yeah.
And a lot of, so it's, yeah. We don't really have a good idea.
Not until about March, to be honest with you.
But even at 2 million, that's $1 million conservative because that's 500 less on revenue and 500. So that's a pretty conservative $1 million on for expenses came in. That's still, you know. Okay. Thank
We
you.
talked earlier, how short are we on short-term rental tax? We had budgeted $500,000
We
for
budgeted
that.
$500,000, right now we're at $87,000.
So, you know, we're not making that number, so, that's.
another 400.
Well, we may eventually make that number once we get it sorted out. It's,
Okay.
I mean, some of that has to do with Airbnb and, you know, what they're not doing on our behalf.
Okay, I could hope for that, but right now we have to count on.
Yeah,
being a
no,
little short,
I
you know.
agree.
But Ray Drukowski hit us with a big number about this particular building not too long ago.
Yep.
Right? What else do we have coming down the pike? I mean, your Stuyvesant Bridge, but we're gonna get a lot of outside.
So
funding.
we have a lot of that funding allocated,
Yeah.
you know, through federal, stuff. You know, I did have a conversation with Ray the other day, and we reached out to, some other folks too. And, you know, we've done really well in the last few years with Bridge New York money. There is rumor that Bridge New York money may not be funded at all, you know. And, because I guess what the state's looking at is there's been so much Bridge New York money allocated, but it's so hard to spend it under DOT rules that it's sitting there and it hasn't been spent. So the legislature may not fund that this year.
There's another option. You can mitigate it.
But I'm just saying, you know, we've done really well with capturing Bridge New York money and getting projects done. If we don't get that money, that's another big number. But you're right, this building is probably one of our biggest things that, Ray is gonna come to us in January or February or something and give everybody a presentation on that. We had,
Just tell him not to waste his time.
what's that?
And did we budget in 26 budget for what he thinks this building's gonna need?
No,
Maybe you get close to it.
Not even.
Well, also in public works too, we did a lot of the trucks and stuff were getting worn out. And we did increase that to go ahead and start a program of replacing those. But you're right, this building, these buildings, they're not figured in budget numbers. So they are big numbers coming up. So we have to kind of get a little extra money sometimes, you know, in cash reserves, we can always pull out and use it to repairs or fix something if we need it, or go further rather than bond.
And we're gonna bond it. You said remaining expenses on 11 Warren Street and some equipment. So
Yeah, we'll know a little better idea how much we're gonna bond to that, but if you look at the capital plan in the back of the budget, over the next 5 years, we have for bridges and road repairs, like 9 million that we have to borrow to finish all those projects, another 2 or so in the plow trucks and that. You know, and that's worst case scenario, we don't get, that's kind of vague, and we build the worst case scenario, but there's some big numbers out there for.
oh, we had to print it on 30-inch paper. I remember it.
So you did budget for those bond payments, accepted 11 more.
I budgeted, yes,
For the
for
payments.
the potential new bond, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in there.
Okay, thank you.
But we wouldn't actually need that until almost the end of the year, correct?
Correct,
Yeah, so it really wouldn't be needed most of, I mean, best case scenario, part of that, people move in there in March, say, or April, right? And we borrow the money and all of
Well,
that.
let me remind everybody, I know Ray sometimes objects to having fund balance too much, but you're right, Rob, we can finish 11 Warren Street and pay for things, but how are we doing that, BJ?
Well, basically, like I said, we dumped in $4 million in capital projects in 25 alone. You know, that includes the 911.
Well, we're doing that with fund balance.
But I think
Can the 610 building be up by the end of 2026 for sale?
We're hoping to have it
We're
before.
hoping to.
I would like to say that gets up for sale next year, yes.
Ray has a question. He's looking right at it.
Well, first of all, let me clarify one thing. I will never object, I won't say never, I won't object to having too much fund balance. Because I do realize we can always spend it. My objection always is to continue to raise taxes as we build our fund balance. So that's my objection. If our fund balance is $100 million, if we don't have to raise taxes, I'm okay with it. But raising taxes to put money in the bank is what bothers me. Is it safe to say that we will probably have $875,000 left over this year from additional revenues and lack of spending? She was just getting to that point, maybe $2 million left over.
I don't think so, because remember, we balanced the budget with 5.9 fund balance, so that's what we have to make up to break even for the year.
Which we're not going to spend any of.
No, I'm not, no. We have 5.9, and we have $1 million in salaries maybe, and maybe 2 in sales tax, or a little less because we get part of that way. So there's 3 maybe.
I'm talking this current year.
We're currently talking about that. So remember, we use 5.9 fund balance to balance 25.
Which
So
I
that's, we
believe,
have to make up 5.9 before we can break even for the year. And right now we have maybe 2 or 3 that we think we're comfortable saying we're gonna have that. There's still another 2 or 3 to go before we're gonna break even.
that we're going to take out of fund balance. That's what you predict.
So if you ask me if we're gonna have 800,000 at the end of this year, I wouldn't make that bet right now, but, you know, I don't know.
You said we had 400 the year before, right, for 24?
400, you know, 16 or something.
If you don't keep taxes up enough, we kind of keep that somewhat in line. We're actually below it You know, you don't keep that up just a little bit, you're just eventually gonna just run out of fund balance, then you're gonna have to raise.
If we drain the fund balance, we haven't drained the fund balance because
So I
5-6 years at all.
We've been maintaining
Going up and up and up as we raise taxes up and up and up.
But that's because we've been maintaining that with the amount of tax we're getting in.
We've been accumulating a lot more than we've been raising taxes. So my point is, to the tune, the $875,000 we're predicted to raise taxes, is it really necessary? Do we really need that $875,000 if we're gonna not spend everything we predicted to raise fund balance and actually be farther ahead than we thought? Why do we need to keep raising another $875,000 on top of what we don't need?
I guess my opinion, right, is basically, we're gonna have close to $5 million in excess expenses in 26 that we didn't have in 25. Out of that $5 million in excess expenses, we're only gonna raise taxes $800,000. So I guess, you know, and we're looking at $4 million drop in fund balance. Like I said, that unassigned fund balance rate is right where it should be, okay? We don't have anything excessive. We don't have 40 or 50 million in unassigned fund balance. We have 28. We're gonna drag it down maybe to 23, but maybe if things go well, we'll be at 25 where we should be. So I don't see where we're doing anything wrong. We're not raising taxes to take and throw money in the fund balance. Our
To
unassigned.
your point, Rick, we
fund
have built
balance
fund balance over the years, but now it's been pretty stable. We're utilizing the excess.
He is trying to hold it.
What other funds do we have, and not in the unassigned fund balance as far as reserve accounts,
We have tax stabilization.
which is what, 5 million?
Yes, a little over 5 million.
And what do we use that account for?
I'm sorry,
What do we use that account for?
what do we use it for?
Yeah.
It's tax stabilization. It can be used
To offset
to offset
$875,000
anything
increase?
over a 2% tax increase, one-time, expenses, unforeseen expenses, and it has to be voted on by the full board to use it.
So we couldn't consider using that to offset the $875,000 instead of raising taxes?
Well, we're not over 2% tax.
The other thing we have is zero in our,
Just the health
health fund. I
zero.
think there's $200 in there.
Supposed to be over $1 million.
Do we also have a fund, reserve fund for retirement? We don't have any more reason, right? No? What other accounts do we have reserve funds for?
$100,000.
There might be something. $30 million building.
But that's not in the numbers that we're looking at for the unassigned
That's an aside. It would be a sign.
sign.
It's specific.
So other than the 5
It's like
million.
our
what's the
is a sign.
other one? So 5 million is tax stabilization, there's another 15, 16 million. What are those other assigned fund balance accounts?
I just said, we have ARPA as a sign, okay, appropriations moving forward is a sign.
Okay.
There's the whole list for it. Like I
But those
said,
are restricted, are they
Yes.
not? Those are all restricted.
Yeah, yeah.
The only unrestricted one would be the, fund balance.
So I'm gonna say I agree with Ray and I agree with PJ. I think that proper budgeting, you do have to look at, okay, if salaries every year are going up 2-3% with union contracts and you keep taxes the same, that's not sustainable over time. I also agree with Ray that although our fund balance wasn't healthy, it now is. And going into 2026, my concern is that a lot of people right now are really, really, really struggling. Gas prices are through the roof, grocery prices are through the roof. People are having a hard time paying their bills and surviving. So, you know, could we consider $870,000 is not a large amount. It is not going to break our fund balance. It is not going to make us in a financially, you know, scary position. You know, could we consider going into 26 because we know how much our residents are struggling, pulling that 870,000, maybe like Jim said, maybe we bring 4 in like we did last year. So we're really only talking dipping into the fund balance another $500,000, $500,000 to say to the residents, we know you're struggling right now. We're not going to increase taxes this year. It doesn't mean we're going to do that every year. It doesn't mean it's a sustainable model, but we're really talking less than 500,000. If we stay where we were at in 24, we end up ahead $400,000. We're talking 870, so it's under $500,000. Dip in, and I get that it's nice when we have that excess fund balance and we get to say, okay, we're gonna do more roads, we're gonna do more bridges, we're gonna do more work on this building. Those are all good things. But are they absolutely necessary for that $500,000 this year to say to residents, hey, you're gonna have to pay more taxes?
I really think that 1.87% increase is prudent at this point in time, because if we were to go to zero, and then next year, 2006 or 2007 budget, something catastrophic happens, like losing Medicaid aid to the tune of $2.5 million, then we have a real problem. Then we're raising taxes 5-6%, which I don't think anybody in this room really wants to do.
You've got to have
We've also gone back to the departments the last 3 years and cut their 0.4 to nothing.
Was it 800,000 this time?
700.
And last year we cut it, I think, more, and the year before, more. And we can't keep going back to that well. This budget, I understand your point, but to me, if we don't at least do that 1.8% just to try to keep up, we started this year with a $9 million or $10 million deficit trying to balance this budget. Last year, I think it was more.
16 million.
16 million.
I mean, so it's a miracle that we could get it to where we are. I think if we squeeze ourselves too much, we could put ourselves in a really bad place if we get, sales tax. Gas prices is a great thing that it's going down for the people in our community, but it's not helping our sales tax revenue. And that could continue to go down, which could be substantial.
I think it could be worse if
Yeah.
we put ourselves in a bad financial way. I think we're better off for us to stay healthy long-term and keep those numbers where they are. They're not, like Matt was saying, they're not crazy numbers. And even at that number, quite frankly, we're still, if something goes wrong, we could be in a mess. It seems like it, it's not, but every time you turn around, everything's $1 million, $2 million, all these crazy numbers. So I think doing what we're doing is minimally keeping us somewhat okay. It's important that if we don't stay safe, if we don't stay healthy financially, we're going to be more of a burden to our citizens than not,
We were talking earlier, in between these two meetings, there are a few counties around us, neighboring counties, that are using 33% of their fund balance. I know one was Schenectady County, Jim, and the other one was it Ulster? They were, big numbers of using, fund balance to balance their budget or to come close to balance their budget. We don't want to be in that position.
We're just starting negotiations with UPSI, which is our largest workforce. It's over 500. And their proposals back to us, it's very tough for me to now sit there and work with what we have. And I don't know where it's going to end, but it's difficult to work with numbers that we have left. To cut anything right now would be crippling. What was our tax levy increase last year? Much more, right?
2.9, 2.8.
But also, to your point, I think one of our biggest problems that we face is not only the recruitment, but the retention of employees. Every time we lose employees because they go someplace else for more money, that costs money. And I think we have to be aware of that. But in terms of the buildings and the highway trucks, we're playing catch up. We're not ahead of the curve by any means with any of those expenditures. A lot of what we're doing, especially for this building, even if it's just to tide it over until we can sell it, is just to keep it dry, keep it closed to weather so people can work here. So these are not, to me, these are not discretionary expenses. These are things we have to do to keep operating.
Agreed. One of our biggest problems in terms of retention is our proximity to Albany.
Yeah.
We lose a lot of employees to state government.
We do.
Do we know what?
It's state police.
Who wants to go there?
And we have stepped up a lot in salaries.
Yeah.
Jim, Matt, I mean, we've stepped up a lot. You're involved in those conversations. I mean, all of our employees deserve as much as we possibly can give them, but there's a reality of what we can pay. And when we try to compete always with Albany, there's just too much of a gap. It's not sustainable.
But we
But we do have other areas within the county that we need to look at, which we are looking at. Obviously, we have 610, we could sell, we'll get some money from that. Talked about,
Holidays, OFA.
and those types of things. We have to continue to dig down and look into those, where there is some savings, I think, but, you know, being involved with this budget, I think everybody that's been involved has done an amazing job. I would just be fearful of trying to cut us too short, because we don't know what's coming down the road, so.
You don't even know, you know, where your sales tax really levels out.
We don't know. And every time we have a union contract, that costs.
It's up north.
But we do know what we're promised from DSS next year, so, you know, the following year.
Right.
Do we know what other counties' proposed budgets are as far as their increase in levies?
I track them. Lancaster County did not increase their tax levy.
They didn't increase their tax rate.
Their tax rate went down, but the levy stayed flat.
But they're using a higher percentage.
33%.
You know, and again, you know, Rensselaer County has their percentage of sales tax as a percentage of their, total revenue is much higher than ours.
Right.
Same with, you know, and we have a much higher reliance on the tax levy as a source of revenue than sales tax and the other counties do. Just because of how we are. So it's not quite fair to look at Rensselaer.
Well, they don't share the same, well,
Rensselaer
Green doesn't share the sales
Green
tax.
does not.
and we do.
Washington County is 17%.
Well, let's keep sharing our sales tax with the town. So
Yeah.
let's not go there.
Exactly.
Sure makes it easier on our town budget.
Yeah, well, that's the issue.
One of the things that I noticed, that we spend, and part of what I've been tasked, and a bunch of us here, is we look at keeping bottom line down. But we don't really spend as half the time in seeing where we can increase our revenues. And as we were talking with Mike Tucker, and I've been thinking about it, and I want to probably approach some more, we're sitting on 9H corridor, and it's a waste. We got a beautiful airport over there. It should be creating revenues for us. And in that, saying all that, there could be a day where we can drop our taxes or stay flat.
Yeah, we've just finished the new
Maintain
airport
some-
plan and, it's got some potential, yeah.
So, you
I
know,
agree.
my next term, I'm gonna be working with the chairman and, trying to create revenue. And keep
Yeah,
an
because you
eye
can't
on
keep
it.
taking it from
You can't
taxes.
keep taking it.
It's
And
just
sitting
not
in these
sustainable.
negotiations sometimes gets embarrassing. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, and, you know, the other thing, every 2 or 3 years, try and do a salary survey of all of our competitive positions. We think we just get there, but then the next time we do the survey, you're at the bottom of the pile again. So it is an ongoing,
And we are increasing.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember, 4 years ago, we couldn't get CDL drivers.
Right.
You know,
Hey,
so be able to plow the roads and attract them, we had to increase their salaries. You know, we had the sheriff's union come to us and say that, you know, we're not competitive because of the state police. Well, we're never going to compete against the state police, nor can we. You know,
Attorneys.
but I think we pay them a fair wage and they get a lot of other perks like overtime and
And there's fast solutions. We have great tourism in this area. Every town around us offers something really neat. But the number one complaint is where do you put the people? We have no motels, hotels. They would create funding, and we have locations for them. And we could answer that question.
Occupancy.
We could answer that really quick,
yeah, that's.
and that would be a huge boost right off the bat.
And that would eliminate the need for so many Airbnbs, which take away from housing.
Correct.
Friday through Sunday.
So
Rob, how many restaurants have you seen rise and fall? in the
Well,
budget?
They all grow.
We used to have
What is the-
hotel in 11, we used to have hotel in 18.
What is the status of this, the Airbnbs and this whole work through with Airbnb and the company we hired? And I mean, because that's a potential, if I remember, those numbers were in the millions of dollars, and we're, I don't know how other towns are doing right now, but like, for instance, my town, we have almost none registered and you know, we're just sort of sitting on it waiting. So where is that? And
Basically, the confusion out there now with the short-term rental owners is the fact that Airbnb and VRBO claim that they're collecting the tax and passing it on to the county. Now, Brenda and Matt just finished writing a letter to Senator Hinchy's office, trying to get that.
Governor's
I'm
office.
sorry, governor's office and trying to get some clarification of that. It's because we came into this situation trying to adhere to the new law that started March 1st. And all the other counties had already been involved, so it really wasn't a problem for them. But because we came in and we tried to adhere to the law, it's really affecting our ability to collect this tax because the owners are thinking that the Airbnbs of the world are collecting the tax and remitting it to us, which they tell these owners they are, when in fact they're not.
May I just add to
Yeah.
that? So I think there's some confusion. If you looked at an Airbnb bill, they were collecting an occupancy tax.
Right.
It really wasn't an occupancy tax, it was a sales tax.
Right.
So we had a language issue. But to just further elucidate on what PJ was saying, the counties that had existing collection agreements with Airbnb and Vrbo, those agreements have continued. But once the New York State law went into effect, those platforms would not issue new agreements with new municipalities. So part of our business plan included, or our model included, the fact that Airbnb and Vrbo would be collecting and remitting those taxes for the county. Instead, PJ's had to put together a whole new system so that the county could collect those taxes. As part of that collection process, what we've understood is that some Airbnb is collecting some occupancy taxes from some hosts, but they're holding that money because they don't have a collection agreement with us. They're not remitting that money to us. So they're sitting on a bucket of money and we're trying to get that resolved. And I think that's the reason we reached out for help from the
Right.
executive office because they created this with the chapter amendment to the law. So they need to help us fix it.
Right.
But we know,
Interest on this, what we can do.
but we don't know if they're making interest. But
I would imagine it should be put in an escrow account.
yeah,
It
but,
should be going in.
Right.
but we have at least one example, Jeannie in your town, who has paid the occupancy tax to Airbnb, then got the letter from us saying that she was in arrears, paid us because she didn't want to be in arrears, but then went back to Airbnb and can't get her money back. So they're not, so it's
Wow.
a mess right
It
now.
is a mess.
Right. But we know that money's being collected. We just have to get to it.
Which,
Put it, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, which Airbnb is causing the mess?
Right.
And we have to do it that way as opposed to us just.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Sorry to go.
There is another option for them to opt out, but they're kind of weighing that.
Right, that's my question. If we opted out, then we would be the collection agency.
Well, but if you opt out, according to the law, you're not allowed to collect tax.
Right.
So, that's talking about cash
It's a
22.
mess.
But Airbnb said we could.
Right.
But that's not what
Yeah, but
council,
they don't, yeah, exactly.
NICEAG council says, no, that's not
Doesn't
our,
matter what they say.
right.
Yeah.
You can
There's
say
no other
anything, it
question?
doesn't make it true.
One more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree to disagree that we can't afford an extra $500,000, not increase taxes. Let's kill that issue. My second pet peeve, same as it's been for the past several years, solid waste. Continue to subsidize solid waste. This year is what, 1.3 million again, I think it is. Again, I spoke with several supervisors. Many of them agree this should continue. We started a committee this year that basically identified saving some low hanging fruit, some peanuts, couple $100,000. Obviously with this budget, you can see it didn't help. We have serious conversations that have to be made with this department. And we continue to prove year after year after year, the budget that includes subsidizing when everybody keeps thinking we shouldn't do it. So I don't understand why supervisors that feel we should change it keep approving subsidizing it. I, again, do not think there's several things the county should subsidize. Anything to do with mental health, social services, health and well-being for individuals. But picking up the should not be something that every single resident should have to pay for when we have 30 or 40% of the population using it. I've had this argument. I continue to argue this, and one of the major reasons, along with raising taxes, I will not support the budget. Then keeps increasing taxes to pay for garbage. That's not right.
I agree with you, Ray, but I also remember a time when, at least in Ghent, when, they illegally rode our dirt bikes around the back roads, seeing all the tires and the garbage and the mattresses and all the crap that used to be on the side of our roads.
There was a landfill right there in Colorado.
Landfill right there.
Well, we've had companies come in and, you know, and give us some
I
ideas
agree.
and say that they can do it cheaper, they would close
No, I
everything.
never said they could do it.
They would run it more efficiently. They would close probably, most of the stations have 1 or 2 or 3, possibly over, not 7, when we have 7. There's ways that they would make it more efficient and run it more efficiently. And it wouldn't cost the taxpayers what we're paying now.
So Greg,
That's, and where we're at is basically no closer than we were last year when we talked
we
about.
are closer. The work group has put together a
I'm
list.
part of that work group. I know.
Right,
We have
but
not
I-
made enough progress to speak of.
Well, I'd like to see more. I agree with you, but we understand what the limitations are. We have a human resource factor that is a limitation. I
And we're
think.
fighting the market, which
Right.
is against the wall. I mean, it's nothing to do with the way the department's run. Wendy does a great job.
Right.
I don't want to say anything negative about that. It's just, we're up against a losing battle. It's like,
If we get this assessment reviewed, then we will have the information to go out for an RFP to take the steps that you're talking about. It's just that it takes time. More time than we want, but it takes time.
I was just gonna say, I don't disagree with you, Ann. I don't, because we did put this committee together. But the problem is you can't just come to a screeching halt and change direction. You have to, you know,
Transition.
And Ray, you know, I have to say 15 years ago, I came onto this board with that same thought that why are we in the solid waste business? Over the years of listening to residents and working with the department and the program, I think that there is a lot of residents that want to pay for this with county tax dollars. So the services that we provide, I feel are somewhat justified by paying for them with tax dollars. Should we be more efficient? And, you know, the work group that we put together identified some inefficiencies. I think we should do that with every department across the county. You know, but as Matt says, nothing happens overnight. But I think that there is a strong, you've seen how the recycling program has grown and the food waste and things. Those are things that people want the county to provide services for. They're not necessarily the most thing, if he knows it, you can't make money at some of these things, you know, but it's, I think that there are some of those services that taxpayers want to pay for, so.
and there are, there's over half the county that doesn't utilize any services.
I agree with you, Ray. And we did have a work group. We do have a work group. We haven't met in a while. It's probably time that we put that work group back together and look at that. And we still haven't gotten a number. You talked about efficiencies, et cetera. We haven't gotten a clear number as to what that means. We don't know. We don't know what they'll charge, not charge, what it'll cost the county. We just haven't gotten that far.
you know,
We put a few things in place, which, as you say, didn't really amount to much.
what we have to decide.
So we need to do that.
What we have to decide is what direction we want to go.
Correct.
Because if we're not careful, we can go the wrong direction, it costs us more money. So that's why we want
Some
to.
of those outside agencies that have come into counties, actually, they're funding that with taxes. You know, they're not, it's not like you're gonna cut $2 million out of the budget, you know.
But we don't know. We never got a number.
The numbers that we have gotten point to no, you know, that's the numbers we've
I
gotten from other
haven't seen
counties.
any numbers, so.
But we are giving people reasonable place, like the household hazardous waste day. You know, and like things like the mattresses, yeah, we're not making as much money as the private guys, but if people had to get rid of the private guys at $80 a mattress, then like Craig said, you might see more of them along the road. You know? And I welcome anyone to go to like the Chatham transfer station on a Saturday. I mean, it's slammed. I mean, people
Which I
use
will be
it,
doing now because the revenue is closed.
so.
But again, we're not saying that the county would just not have any garbage. You know, that this would all just happen. They'd start throwing tires and refrigerators.
Yeah, no,
We're saying that we would contract possibly. We
Right.
don't know
No,
that with another provider that would provide the same services, but we would be added. It's similarly to what we did with the
I'm open
nursing
to
home.
that, but I think back to what Donnell said, and, you know, we just heard Tishria saying that, you know, she's concerned about our residents paying, you know, another $1,000 in taxes, to continue on the services we have. I think if we privatized it, the residents would end up paying more, you know, overall. Yeah, you would get a company to come in and run the service, but they're gonna charge for it. They're gonna make money.
Well, we know that, but
No, we don't know that.
but you're saying they're gonna charge more. How do you know? We don't know.
No,
We
I
haven't
know.
gotten a number.
That's
I think,
We don't have a number. We just don't know. You may be 100% right. I may be 100% wrong, but we don't know
We
that.
don't know that. No.
I think the answer is that the solid waste committee needs to meet more regularly.
Yeah.
And look at this. And again, we don't know what we want to do yet. We don't know if we want it to be a public-private partnership, whether we, what services we want to provide versus the services they want to provide. Do we want to keep our landfills? Or do we want to, there's a whole menu of things that we need to decide on before we could even be a 2-year process.
One of the recommendations from the company we met with is to close down some of your transfer stations, over half of them. But I don't think the county, I know I'm willing to look at it, but I don't think the county is willing to do that.
I'm willing to look at anything.
I don't know how we move that forward because I don't know how we get that vote forward.
Dramatic number, even.
We need to close 3 or 4 of our stations.
Even if we did, it wasn't.
14 weeks.
It doesn't save, it only saves us $200,000 or $300,000, but it's $200,000 or $300,000 less. That would be almost our tax increase. We could say,
We're not even sure if that's the right number.
Well, we had some predictions. We had some one numbers with Wendy that were, told us.
Yeah. Let's, this is something that should be discussed at the committee level.
You gotta work on it so lot.
Yeah.
I think instead of putting it to the side, we gotta.
I agree.
Because there is half the people that don't use those things and they're paying out of their pockets. I'm one of them. I pay what I pay for my garbage. It is what it is. That's what it costs me.
A lot of us do. I do too.
Right. So
The initial study was only 30-some%. They said that was a little bit off, it was wrong, so maybe it's 40-some% that the public uses solid waste. The rest of them have private carriers.
So I think we need to talk to Ray and let's get another meeting.
I forgot what we were waiting on last time, but we get distracted.
Well, on a lighter note, I'd like to thank, investing in our partners like Soil and Water. They're doing good things. They got some dynamic young employees. And Jim, you said that, CEDC, it looks like we dropped our allocation to them, but are they maintaining Chris Brown in his position, I hope, for 26?
Yeah, we didn't drop, it might look like it dropped because they got some ARPA money.
Okay, yeah, so that last year was a little bigger.
Not in the hole, they got about, I think they asked for
90% of what they asked for.
Yeah.
Because Chris Brown is doing an excellent job with Mike Tucker. I mean, I think he's knocking it out of the park, and I'd like to see him have some longevity here.
I had talked to Mike just like I had talked to you, not all about Soil. I wonder if we didn't give him exactly, but I think it was 10% less.
And again, I think to your point, Donnell, when we were talking about that, I did have to think that especially those 2 agencies, they're bringing a lot of money into the county. It's not necessarily county grant money, but they are capturing a lot of grant money, both of them. Soil and Water for the farm and agricultural community, and Chris for anybody that's looking to do some building.
Yeah, and when you said the other day, that the rumor was Soil and Water was just working with like small niche farms, and I was looking at our cover crop program where it's like Coocons and Wilra. I mean, so they're doing across the board.
They are,
They're doing a good job. So I'm glad we're giving them a little more for operation. Thank you.
Yeah, so the last slide, we already talked about everything on here. We have the big beautiful bill. We don't know what that's gonna cost us next year. The estimates are from 2 to 2.5 million probably, depending on and the timing of it and what the penalties involved in it. Unknown if New York State will eat any of that. I'm gonna say no, probably. So we'll see. And then we talked about sales tax, occupancy tax, and we talked about the bonds.
Rumors are that the state deficit is pretty large.
Sorry?
I said rumors are the state deficit is pretty large.
They had a good income tax last time, so their deficit went down a little bit, so it's still about this.
If we get moving with some generational housing here, we'll see some more mortgage tax improvements, right? I mean, we gotta
There's all these rich people.
we gotta push back on the gentrifiers, tax second homeowners for this, because they're deducting a second home anyway, right?
Yeah.
No offense to second homeowners in the room.
Sorry.
I've been,
Any other questions?
Yeah, something bigger.
Very grateful for all the chairman, for controller and treasurer and the budget work group. I really appreciate it.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
The meeting that you missed there.
Okay, I call the finance committee meeting to order. we're gonna get started with Health and Human Services, Resolution number 1.
Move it. Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 2, effective. Whoa.
Too early for skiing accident.
We have a. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're gonna pull out money.
No, I was making sure Jim kicked out.
All right.
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll get going. Resolution number 2, effective 12/13/25, authorization.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution number 3, authorization for the Health Department,
Second.
Bill 1. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 4, authorization for the Health Department to renew affiliation agreements with colleges and universities.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 5, authorization for the Health Department to renew annual contracts.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number
Move it.
6.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 7, authorization to enter into an agreement
Move
with
it.
Questar
Second.
Boats. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 8,
Can I ask a
authorization.
question about 8 and 9 kind of combined?
Yeah.
So 8 is to fill one site manager position due to a retirement, and then 9 is to abolish.
This is a senior site.
So are there two different retirements? 8 and 9 are for two different, because 9 says then to abolish and make it a cook position due to a retirement.
Senior, how did that go? I've never heard.
They wanted to abolish the senior site position
And then,
and replace it with a cook.
Due to a retirement for a senior site worker, but
Yes.
then there's also a separate retirement for a
that's a
site.
different-
That's a different person.
right.
So I just have a question kind of overall on OFA. We've been talking for a while about potentially outsourcing the meals. Right now, doing it in-house, we're spending over $20 a meal. We have a ballpark price through Recovery Kitchen for $6 or $7 a meal, so you're talking, a third, if not 25% of the cost. One of the things when we visited this, it came up when we were going to build the new kitchen. We started the conversation then, and one of the things we were talking about was staff. A lot of people in the kitchen, cooks they've been there forever. So it seems odd to create, if we have 2 retirements from people that have been there a long time, that seems like the perfect time to start talking about.
Well, they still have to prepare them. You're not gonna shift them overnight. And they still have to prepare the meals.
Right,
And
but,
this is actually gonna save money, because the cook one is, I believe, less than the site manager.
okay, but with two retirements, wouldn't that potentially be a time to not replace?
It's something that
I
we can
think-
have a
I think-
conversation about, but
It's a much bigger issue. And I'm not saying that it can't happen, but it's an issue of what the state allows.
We
And I
have
know
to
that
do
he has reached
RFP
out.
to start with, and that whole
$6 or $7
process.
And it may not be the recovery kitchen.
Which is fine. I know in New Lebanon, a lot of our residents don't like the quality of the meals that are coming out. And if we're, $20 a meal, I could go get something from Mario's to go, which is like a high-end restaurant at that cost. So I think it's something, I'm not saying that we shouldn't staff them now, but it is something that for 2 or 3 years now I've been talking about, and we haven't formed a
maybe
committee? That was what we talked
started in
about.
committee.
What I've,
You know,
brought up in meetings that we've had about this is, there is a difference in terms of the cost, but the recovery kitchen is staffed with volunteers. If we go all in on something like that and the volunteers leave, then we, as a county, have nothing.
The other
To be able to
issue,
offer.
There was another company, if I recall, out
Yeah.
of Albany.
That's right.
something That was actually more so than them, because that was a professional company that was
this is a
actually
bigger company.
doing it already and providing meals.
12, 13 or something.
And their price was quite a bit, substantially less. So, yeah. And then you're not in the situation where, as Matt said, volunteers and they don't have them, what do? This was an actual company.
So
that's doing
talking
it,
about
improving.
quality of food too was, I don't know about the quality, but tasting of the food, they do have a tendency to cook very bland. And
Which
not
because of the dietary
Yeah, and that was
restrictions that they have.
thing that when we did, that
got brought up, and I remember a discussion that that's where it was.
I mean, could we, I know for a couple years now, we've been talking about doing this, creating a committee. Could we form that committee and have, I know Brenda Adams is very interested in, I'd be happy to be on it, or, you know, just get a few of us together to really kind of dig into what we're paying now versus an Albany company or different options. Obviously, there's steps we'd have to go through, but
Right,
before
I
we go
mean-
out for RFP, we would want to talk about, you know,
Right.
pros and cons.
Let's bring that up at the next Health and Human Services.
When you do an RFP, you're
I'm
gonna
not on that committee, but if you would bring it up.
request that they
Right.
follow the rules.
Okay.
Okay,
That's part of the
Alright.
process.
You know, so I want to, I'm agreeing with the point, we've talked about that, and it's a solid waste, the same thing. I really think we should start thinking about looking at what we're gonna do with the ones that aren't doing well, how we can restructure them or do something.
Right.
Because they are losing money and stuff like that, and if stuff like that doesn't work, I think we definitely should take.
We do have it.
We've talked about it for a couple of years, so.
With Ray's on the committee.
We have a committee for solid waste, we haven't met. in a
Right,
while.
right. So I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
We did talk about the meal too, same thing, if we're gonna put a new facility up, we're gonna
there
do.
was some restructuring on solid waste and everything, but that's,
We are gonna have.
that's another
Bring
conversation.
that meeting.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we're gonna
Thank you.
move on.
Just
Resolution number 8.
before we end that, just, Nina had just got some guidance from the Office for the Aging, which I believe was sent to Brenda and Banal.
Okay,
So, which, some of it is restrictive of what you can and can't do. So,
okay,
and I don't have it in front of me.
thank you.
Resolution number 8, authorization for OFA to fill one site management position.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 9,
Move it.
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 10,
Move it.
authorization.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 11, authorization for the Department of Human
Second.
Services. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 12, authorization of the Department of Human Services.
Second,
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 13.
move it.
This was yours, Jimmy.
Yeah, I had a question about this, and, I guess it might, I've been answered in a way. We are saving some money. On the flip side, I was looking at $160,000 a year for a nurse practitioner, and when I did some investigating in it, that's on the high end.
I asked that question
of
in
a nurse.
the Health and Human Services as well.
Yeah. And so I called Rob, I know he was on that, and asked him about this, and, but I guess it's on the high end of the number. Let me tell you, because it's usually 140, 145, but it is what it is, you know, so,
But that 160 is replacing the 277 that we're currently.
okay. So resolution number 13,
Just made.
you made a motion,
I moved it.
okay. Motion and a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 14, authorization for the Department of Human Services to fill one vacant intake clerk
Move
position.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 15, authorization for the Department of Human Services to fill one budgeted vacant behavioral health.
Move it.
Social
Second.
worker. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 16, authorization for the Department of Human Services to re-enter into a contract with Coordinated Care
Second.
Services. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 17, authorization for the Department of Human Services to renew contract
Move
with.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 18, authorization for the Department of Human Services to contract with the Bondeo Group not to exceed $8,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 19, authorization for the Department of Human Services to contract with prescriber recruiter Corzen.
Move it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We only pay an event that they find somebody.
Okay. Resolution number 20, authorization of the Department of Human Services to renew contract with locum tenens from Jackson Coker for the purpose of
Move it.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 21, authorization for the Department of Human Services to renew contract with prescriber
Move it.
recruiter. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 22, authorization of the Department of Human Services to modify the contract with Columbia Green College
for behavioral health services for up to $100,000. It's $98.
Move it.
Have a motion? Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 23, authorization to Department of Human Services to contract.
Move it. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 24, authorization to Department of Human Services to contract 1 year with 1011 Group.
Move it.
We have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 25, authorization for DSS to fill one council to the commissioner position. Salary range $84,666.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 26, authorization for DSS to fill one senior assistant social services attorney position. Salary,
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 27, authorization for DSS to fill one caseworker position
Move it.
due to termination. We have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 28, authorization to fill one senior social examiner position.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 29, authorization for the chairman of the board to approve the annual renewal of existing contracts for DSS.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 30, authorization for DSS to transfer $100,000 from the personal services account.
This is a different,
You have a motion?
no, this is a different,
Wording different.
Transfer funds for personal services account. I think that's what he's reading, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm reading.
oh, okay, because you had 31.
Yeah, where's the 100,000 you mentioned?
Right there.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Jimmy's
Carried.
looking at a short sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not looking at the.
Public safety.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Yeah, one more.
Resolution number 32, authorization to award the microwave maintenance contract.
Move it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 33, authorization to contract with Repeat Business Systems.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 34, authorization for the public defender to fill one third type of position. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 35, authorization to fill one.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 36,
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I think Grant's like.
Ray likes that money.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Resolution number 37,
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye. They're not
Opposed?
all free though.
Resolution number 38, authorization of the sheriff's office to enter into a renewal agreement with Axon in the amount of $1,205,098.56 over the course of 5 years.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 39, authorization to reappoint.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 40, authorization. We have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 40A, went into our contract with Task Force One to provide training for volunteer first responders.
Move it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, county government, resolution number 41, authorization to award the bid for the management
Move it.
operation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I didn't see any numbers on that. Is that,
Jim, you wanna?
It actually came in 50 cents less a mile than it was we were paying last year.
okay,
They got a new agreement with some maintenance company that's up here.
Mhm.
And I think before they're taking the bus down to Westchester or something.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because I was just wondering, okay, I didn't see it. Resolution number 42, authorization to modify the Columbia County
Move it.
uniform payroll. We have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
authorization to execute an extension of the contract for marketing
Move it.
services.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 44, authorization for MIS department to enter into intermunicipal agreements.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 45, authorization to appoint a member.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 46, authorization
Move it.
for real property. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 47, authorization for the sale of 2 parcels of
Move it.
unimproved land.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Public Works. Resolution number 48, authorization for the chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 49, authorization is requested for the chairman of the board to execute a professional services agreement.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 50, authorization for the chairman of the board to execute.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 51, authorization for the chairman of the board to execute a professional services agreement.
Move it.
Ryan Briggs,
Second.
we
Second.
have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 52, authorization for the chairman of the Columbia County Board of
I'll move it.
Supervisors.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 53, authorization to grant Columbia County Commissioner of Public Works to implement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just curious, what do they do?
Yeah, that was,
What do they do with it? So there's a list that's been real shortly, you know, if there's lumber, you offer it to the property owner right there or a neighbor. And if not, if none of those people want it, then there's a list that each one of the outposts keeps. And you call those people, but they have to be ready for it, you know. It's just kind of clearing it up to say.
Firewood?
Right, yeah.
okay. Resolution number 54, authorization for facilities to fill 2.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 55, agreements with
Move it.
Kingsley Power
Second.
System. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Authorization for facilities to enter a tech support with Arc Energy. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Finance. Resolution number 57. Authorization to amend the contract with Millman Inc. to perform GASB 5, move it 75. Second. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 58. Authorization to enter into an electricity supply contract
Move
with Constellation New
Second.
Energy. Before we just go any further, just, some of these, I'm always leery of these type contracts.
Yep.
So how long is this for? And
So right now, we're locked in through September of 26.
Okay.
So this would start after that. We're doing this now so we can hopefully lock in a rate now rather than waiting until then.
okay,
And it's for 3 years is what we decided to do. The last one we did was for a year.
Mhm.
The 3-year rate is lowest by far, and talking to, this is through NISAC, this is
Right.
mega thing. And talking to NISAC and to the mega people, it seems to be the best option to go with all the other. New York rates are gonna probably go up with everything that's going
Okay.
on, so.
if it went the wrong way though, we couldn't get out of it, so.
There is some outs there, yeah.
Okay.
We're not locked in. but
And this is for like all county facilities for our electric bills. We have more.
Remember, I'm talking to, NISAC also has a gas contract we might go on to as well.
Okay.
For like
Yeah.
heating fuel and diesel fuel.
This just being.
Just heating, yeah.
Oh, okay, for our electric.
Would that help us out up at the 911 center up there, getting natural gas to them?
That's all propane.
Yeah, that's all.
Oh, you mean, well, yeah, we don't have.
No, I know it's
Oh,
propane.
yeah,
I
we
was
got
just,
it there now.
oh, okay, all right, so, number
We have a motion.
50, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 59, authorization to amend the 2025 Columbia County adopted budget for unexpected increases in insurance payments.
Move it.
You have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 60, authorization to enter a contract with Berkey Life and Health Insurance Company for a stop loss policy for 2026.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 61, authorization for the treasurer to upgrade one reimbursement specialist, grade 16, at $66,252 due to a promotion.
Move it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Resolution number 62, authorization for the treasurer to fill one billing specialist, grade 13C, at $57,186. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 63, authorization. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 64,
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Yeah. This is.
Bimbo Bakery.
Yeah.
Okay, motion and a second. We have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. And resolution number 66.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
All right, PJ has a little.
Are we doing budget? We're doing budgets.
Yeah. No.
Now,
In there, yeah. It's not like the public, it's just the supervisors.
Supervisors. So it's
I
our
mean,
budget
public
workshop.
can count it, but
But it's not the public.
Yeah,
just
a quick overview. This is our cash flow expectations moving forward. I'll need to scroll down a little bit.
Something happened to your pen at the end.
The purple line is the top, the projected cash flow. The green line is where we were last year, and the yellow line is the absolute lowest that we should be or could be. What it's actually showing is that at the end of December of this year, we'll be a little over $3 million less than last year. But that's the bad news. The good news is that what I didn't factor in when I gave them this information is that other funds, particularly capital, owes the general fund about $3 million. So quite frankly, from a cash flow perspective, we should be just about where we were last year. Okay. It's about a 40-page report, but I narrowed it down.
You like the graphics, right? You know,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I did ask the college to come in, but because we had changes in, we had a budget meeting at 3:30. And I figured we may be a while with the college. Also, Amanda is not at the college anymore, so I guess they're looking for another, person. So by the time that they get together, we're gonna just reschedule.
Which be the finance one?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, those two who usually.
Provost and the other.
Yeah. So, we are on top of it as soon as they get somebody back in there and.
we
I'm gonna
said-
bring that in.
You said February.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good list of different things we wanted to ask, so.
That's too bad she's gone. She was pretty knowledgeable.
Okay, is there anybody else?
Question for PJ or Jim, in approving the stop loss, insurance thing, is there any movement on the towns being able to get into that so that we could, piggyback off the county as well too? Or back when we started all this county self-insurance thing, that was the stumbling block, I thought, was that the towns could not buy stop loss insurance. Is that ever changing?
Is it ever changing? The answer is I don't know. At the moment, it isn't.
Okay.
It's really for colleges. You have to be self-funded.
Okay.
Okay, and counties at the moment, I don't know if any will change.
I didn't know if you've ever heard of any changes.
No.
I just,
I have,
made me think of it because we had talked about it years ago.
that's a good question.
Okay. So I asked.
Anybody else?
Thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we, going